There is a place where miracles are no longer mere stories, but the very formula of life. A place where every thought becomes a seed of power, every word becomes a creative command, every image you nurture in your mind takes shape as reality. The Bible, when read with new eyes, is not an ancient tale, but a spiritual map operating within you right now. This video unfolds a journey through 12 pivotal chapters, from the loaves and fishes, to the net overflowing with fish, to the word of power, the current of faith, and finally, to the daily resurrection of Lazarus. This is the workshop of miracles, where you learn to use the mind as the instrument to shape health, abundance, joy, and peace. Go deeper, for each part of this journey is a key that unlocks the transformation of your life from the inside out, unveiling the workshop of miracles, an invitation to step into a journey where thought becomes a seed of power, where words spoken in faith unlock the gates of blessing, the purpose, to awaken belief and reprogram the mind to receive abundance. Deep within the human subconscious exists a hidden workshop where every image and thought is cast into form as reality. None but you are the architect and the laborer of that workshop. Each idea is a blueprint, each word a command, each emotion the current that drives the machinery into motion. When you grasp this truth, you realize that you have never been a victim of circumstance, but always the designer and builder of your life. This is the workshop of miracles, where a single small thought can open the doors of abundance, where a firm affirmation can raise up a life overflowing with good. In the Bible, this principle is repeated through countless metaphors. Look at the very first image of creation, when nothing existed but darkness. A voice declared, "Let there be light." Out of the void, order appeared, not through waiting, not through begging, but through a command. That is the unchanging principle of the workshop of miracles. You need not wait for conditions to shift before you believe. You must issue the command within your mind, and the subconscious will obey, just as light obeyed and broke forth into the darkness. Many live their entire lives without once stepping into this workshop of miracles. They allow thoughts to drift, words to spill undisciplined, emotions to be ruled by the outer world. The result is that the workshop still operates, but it manufactures lack, worry, sickness, for the subconscious does not distinguish between desired thought and random thought. It only accepts the command you send, wrapped in emotion. Therefore, if you wish to release the flow of blessing, you must re-establish discipline in the workshop. Choose your seeds of thought with care. Refine your words into instruments of creation. Ignite emotions of gratitude and trust to set the invisible machinery in motion. Throughout history, those called saints, prophets, or enlightened ones, all mastered this workshop of miracles. They did not rely on vague magic. They understood the law of spirit. When they spoke, it was done. When they envisioned, it appeared. When they blessed, the world was changed. This was not a privilege for the few. It is a spiritual inheritance planted in every soul. You hold the same key, only awaiting your use. Your experiment begins with small things. Choose a simple idea. For instance, peace in a single day. Instead of waiting for outer conditions to dictate your mood, envision yourself walking in stillness with every breath. Say within, "Today I am peace. I am calm in the midst of storms." Each repetition sends down to the subconscious the blueprint of a tranquil day. Each emotion of gratitude for that peace activates the machines of the workshop, and soon even circumstances that once irritated will pass lightly and you will see yourself as the master of experience. Another example, consider financial supply. People often say, I do not have enough, how can I survive? But the workshop of miracles does not understand the language of lack. It understands only the images and feelings you impress upon it. If you continually envision an empty account with anxiety, the subconscious multiplies that image. But if you sketch in your mind the picture of a full account, if you silently give thanks for provision already given, if you affirm with certainty, I am always supplied, I do not lack, the workshop of miracles will produce circumstances aligned with that command. The crucial element is alignment. Thought, word, and emotion must harmonize. If you think one way, speak another, and feel in yet another direction, the workshop receives mixed signals and outputs chaos. Thus you must practice inner unity each day. Take a quiet moment to examine what blueprints you are sending to the workshop. Are you sowing seeds of lack or abundance, fear or peace, doubt or faith? In this art, the spoken word holds the central role. A firm affirmation is the key that turns on the machinery. Scripture says, life and death are in the power of the tongue. When you affirm with faith, the subconscious does not argue. It only obeys. Therefore, let your mouth become an instrument of creation, not of destruction. Do not say, I cannot. Say, I am able. Do not say, I am falling. Say, I am standing strong. Do not say, I am poor. Say, I am always supplied. The workshop of miracles does not care where you came from, how many times you failed, or what trial you face. It cares only for the blueprint you submit now. If today you send forth a bright image, a trusting feeling, a confirming word, then today a new process is set into motion. Remember, you do not need to know exactly how the workshop builds, just as you need not understand every detail of your body for a wound to heal. You need only provide the right blueprint and trust. The subconscious will automatically marshal forces, arrange opportunities, create connections, open pathways. Your part is to sow. The subconscious part is to bring forth, and whenever doubt arises, return to the first principle, let there be light in every seeming darkness. You can issue that command within your mind, and you will witness the first small spark arise, guiding the way for greater wonders to follow. The workshop of miracles is not entered by the feet, but by thought and faith. It is not in some faraway place. It is within you. Each moment you choose a positive thought. You open the door. Each word you speak in trust. You start the engine. Each feeling of gratitude you nurture. You move the assembly line of abundance. Final affirmation, my subconscious is the workshop of miracles. I sow the seeds of faith and blessing. I command the light to shine forth in my life. And abundance manifests in every area of my being. Now, the Bible as a handbook of mental law. Every miracle is the description of an eternal, spiritual, psychological principle. Not a whimsical intervention, but an encoded formula for mankind to co-create. For centuries, many have regarded the Bible as an ancient book recording the history of a nation or moral tales. Yet, when read with new eyes, it reveals itself as a spiritual map, a handbook of mental law, written in symbolic language. Each miracle is not the arbitrary act of a distant deity, but the demonstration of timeless psychological and spiritual laws at work. When Jesus spoke, when the prophets acted, they were not bending nature, they were applying the very laws of the subconscious and spirit. Just as a scientist wisely applies the laws of physics, if you observe closely, every miracle repeats the same principle. A clear idea, a firm affirmation, a feeling of trust, and the release that allows the spiritual law to execute. This is the encoded formula woven through every page, and anyone can apply it who knows how to decode it. Consider the story of Genesis, where the command, "Let there be light," becomes the prototype for every creative declaration. This is not a distant cosmic tale, but an instruction for how your mind operates. Each time you affirm something with certainty, you are repeating the formula of creation. Or take the story of the loaves and fishes. It was not a parlor trick, but a demonstration of the power of lifting a small idea, blessing it with gratitude, releasing it in faith. The law of multiplication was set in motion, and the impossible became possible. The entire Bible is such a handbook, not written for one nation alone, but for all humanity, for every mind ready to awaken its creative potential. If you read the Bible only as history, it will remain in the past. But if you read it as the description of spiritual law, it becomes immediate, alive, operative in your life now. Prophecy will no longer be a vague reminder, but a practical formula for action. The images of miracles will no longer be distant tales, but keys that unlock the very doors of difficulty before you. In this way, the Bible is not a record, but a call for you to co-create with the Creator. And when you apply it, you are not begging favors from without, but awakening treasures from within. So let me ask you this, as you hear these words, as you allow the idea of the Bible as a handbook of mental law to flow into you, what do you feel? Have you ever realized that every word you speak, every thought you hold, is in fact operating under the very laws written in Scripture? Have you seen that what you call fortune or misfortune is but the reflection of that law, a law that never changes, only waits for you to use it? The answer lies in your own heart, and I know right now you are present, you are listening, and that very presence is proof that your spirit is ready to receive. I thank you for that presence, for walking this journey, for without you, these words would be but echoes in the void. When you understand the Bible as a manual of mental law, you cease to view miracles as anomalies. Miracles are simply the natural outworking of spiritual law applied correctly. Just as you plant a seed in the ground and know a tree will grow, so when you sow a clear image in the subconscious with faith and gratitude, the result will surely appear. The only difference is that mankind has forgotten how to sow, has let chaotic thoughts choke the soil of the spirit. That is why the Bible was written, to remind, to awaken, to return you to that simple yet profound principle. Ask yourself, how are you applying the Bible? Do you read it as a book of history for entertainment? Or do you decode it as a set of formulas to transform your life? Do you leave the story of the Red Sea as a past event? Or do you see it as a symbol that every mental barrier can dissolve when you stand firm in faith? Do you see water turn to wine as only an occurrence? Or do you use it as a reminder that joy can be renewed even in moments of emptiness? This is the time for you to claim it. Do not leave the Bible on a shelf. Place it in your heart as a map of direction. Place it on your lips as a creative command. Place it in your imagination as the seed sown into fertile soil. And you will see what was promised from ages past is not a distant dream, but a reality you can live. Final affirmation. The Bible is my handbook of mental law. Every miracle is a formula by which I co-create with the Creator. I choose to apply this law in my thoughts, words, and emotions, and I give thanks that even now the spiritual law is at work in my life. Symbols and practical application. Bread, fish, wine are instruments of operation. Scientific prayer does not ask but declares. Genesis 1:26-28 stands as the foundational affirmation of man's creative power. In the language of the Bible, no symbol is accidental or decorative. Every detail is an encoded formula for man to grasp and apply. bread, fish, and wine are not merely food or drink, but three pivotal keys of spiritual creation. Bread represents sustenance, enduring provision, the foundation upon which life continues. Fish represents opportunity, the overflowing resources beneath the waters of the subconscious, where there is always more than the eye can see. Wine represents joy, the abundance of spirit, the emotion that brings inspiration and vitality. When you read scripture with new eyes, you see that these symbols are not ancient ornaments, but practical formulas for your life today. Consider the words in Genesis 1:26-28. Let us make man in our image, after our likeness. Be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth, and subdue it. This is not a biological account, but a foundational affirmation of creative power. To be made in God's image means you possess the capacity to think and to manifest. To be fruitful means to multiply ideas in the subconscious. To fill the earth means to expand the influence of spirit outward into the world. To subdue means to govern circumstances from the inner center. This is no vague blessing, but the formula to realize that creation is your very nature. In practice, this means you must use symbols as tools. When you think of bread, do not think of physical food, but of spiritual provision. A loaf of bread impressed upon the mind with faith and gratitude becomes the mold for supply. When you need financial support, imagine bread as a symbol of sufficiency. Bless it. Envision it being distributed. You are not merely imagining. You are activating the subconscious to produce supply. The same is true of fish. Fish are not only nourishment, but opportunities rising from the sea of the subconscious. The sea is always full. Fish are always swimming. Opportunities always exist, but there must be one who casts the net, a mind that directs its attention to the right side, the side of positivity and abundance. Each time you picture a fish being drawn ashore, you are picturing an opportunity arriving in your life. This is no hollow metaphor, but a spiritual exercise that creates a channel of reception. And wine at the wedding in Cana was not merely fermented juice. Wine is the symbol of joy, of divine gladness that transforms ordinary moments into celebrations. When joy runs out, when life is lived only in duty and responsibility, it becomes like water, tasteless. But when you choose to restore joy, when you reintroduce gladness into your work, your relationships, your every step, then water becomes wine. This is the formula of emotional miracle. Use joy as the catalyst, and abundance will flourish. Scientific prayer is the method of applying these symbols with unwavering faith. Not begging, not waiting, but declaring. When you declare an image as already present, you are commanding the subconscious into action. Scripture states plainly, call those things which be not as though they were. This is the essence of scientific prayer. You do not bleat, you affirm. You do not wait, you decree. You do not tremble in doubt. You stand firm in conviction. When you combine symbol and declaration, you are conducting experiments in the laboratory of spirit. You may sit quietly, imagine a loaf of bread in your hands, taste it in your mind, and say within, this is my provision, I am fully sustained. You may envision a fresh fish from the sea and say, this is my opportunity. I receive it and put it to use. You may imagine a shining cup of red wine, lift it inwardly and say, this is my joy, my abundance. My spirit overflows. In doing so, you are not merely reading symbols, but activating them. And with steady practice, the subconscious will not distinguish between symbol and reality. It only receives the signal you send with emotion Bread held in gratitude in the mind initiates the law of supply. A fish envisioned with faith opens the door of opportunity. A cup of wine raised in joy transforms circumstances. This is the applied power of biblical symbols. Genesis affirms that man was created to be fruitful, to multiply, to fill, and to subdue. Bread, fish, and wine are the concrete tools to enact this affirmation. When you apply them, you are fulfilling your creative function, doing what the Bible declared from the beginning. And when you persist, your life will testify that what is being called miracles are simply spiritual laws operating rightly. Final affirmation. I am created in the image of the Creator. My thoughts are seeds. My words are commands. My emotions are currents. Bread is provision. Fish are opportunity. Wine is joy. I operate these symbols as tools of creation, and abundance manifests in my life now, activating the inner fiat lux, practicing Genesis 1 to 3, let there be light as an inward command, envision the darkness, call forth light in the mind, commit not to blind belief, but to the direct application of biblical imagery as formulas. When night covered all, when everything was void and without form, a voice rang out in Genesis 1 to 3, let there be light, and there was light. This utterance is not merely the narration of the world's dawn. It is the foundational formula for unlocking your inner power. Within every human lies a region of darkness where worries, painful memories, fears, and doubts reside. But Scripture directs us not to lament the darkness, but to command the light to appear. This is the reminder that light does not descend from without. It is awakened from within. Try the practice now. Close your eyes and picture a vast darkness. No glimmer, only deep stillness. Then in your mind, speak clearly, without trembling, without doubt. Let there be light within me. At once, imagine a spark flashing, then expanding, dispersing the shadows, illuminating the whole inner space. That light is the idea, the beginning of creation, the opening of all transformation. This is not blind faith. This is direct application. You are not begging light to fall. You are not waiting for something outside. You are issuing the command from within, and the subconscious obeys. Each day, you practice this. You reestablish mastery over the mind. Instead of letting the darkness of anxiety lead, you choose the light of idea and faith to shine. It is like flipping a switch in a dim room. You do not fight the dark. You simply turn on the light. And I ask you, as you hear this, are you willing to try it in your life? Will you face the darkness of your problems, not with fear or avoidance, but with a decree? Let there be light. Will you transform every dead end into a chance to activate inner illumination? If you are ready, declare it now. Write in the comments, I am ready to change, or simply type the number 1 so I know you are here. You are part of this journey, and you truly want to reignite your power. I thank you for your presence. For every response you give is not only to me, but a commitment to yourself. Light in Scripture is more than physics. It is the symbol of consciousness, of clarity, of the spirit liberated. When you say, let there be light, you are commanding the subconscious to open a new door. Ideas you never imagined will appear. Solutions that seemed impossible will unfold. Heavy emotions will give way to ease and joy. For light always brings order, and order always brings life. Do not wait for perfection to begin. It is in the dark moments that you have the chance to practice fiat lux. When your mind is in turmoil, When the future seems dim, stand still for a moment and say, "Let there be light." Each time you do, you are not only reminding yourself, but carving a new channel in the subconscious, training it to make light calling your reflex, and then, whenever darkness returns, instead of panic, you will switch it on with a single inner command. Many think they must understand the whole Bible before applying it. In truth, one verse, one symbol is enough to change an entire life. Fiat Lux is such an example, short, but containing the whole law of creation. You need not explain how light operates, just as you need not understand every science behind the sunrise. You only need to give the command, and the wonder will follow. Each day, devote a few moments to this practice. In the morning, envision the chamber of the mind filled with radiance. When a problem arises, imagine the night dissolving. As you fall asleep, let that light wrap you in peace. This is how you turn a verse into a tool, faith into experience, theory into reality. And remember, the light you summon is not for you alone. When you live in the light, you become a light for others. Your presence inspires, your words uplift, your actions guide, like a lamp set on a hill that cannot be hidden. You shine that the world may see. Final affirmation: the light of the Creator dwells within me. I command it to shine forth. I live in clarity. I walk in guidance. I turn darkness into the occasion for inner light to blaze. And I am ready to change right now the invisible pattern and the law of multiplication, the loaves and fishes. Asterisk, asterisk. All form is born from the mold of the mind. Lift the idea, bless it with gratitude, faith, imagination, then release it for the subconscious to multiply. Practice with an imagined check. Read Psalm 23 as a legal proclamation. Everything that appears in the material world begins with an invisible pattern. No house is ever built without first having a blueprint. No invention ever comes forth without first taking shape in imagination. The spiritual law works in the same way. It requires that an image exist in the mind before it can manifest in outer reality. When Jesus faced the hungry multitude with only 5 loaves and 2 fish, he did not see lack. He saw the invisible pattern. He lifted them up, blessed them with gratitude and faith, and then distributed them. The result was multiplication, a miracle that did not occur by chance, but because the law was activated. The lesson is clear. Every idea, every dream becomes reality only when it is lifted up, blessed, and released in faith. The invisible pattern is the image you nurture in the subconscious. If you continually imagine lack, that pattern multiplies into more of the same. If you hold the image of sufficiency, feel gratitude and certainty that you are already supplied. That pattern produces abundance. The subconscious does not distinguish between real and imagined. It accepts only the blueprint you impress upon it with accompanying emotion. Thus, the first step in applying the law of multiplication is to form the right pattern. Imagine yourself holding a check in your hand. It bears your name, the exact amount you desire, the current date. Sign it in your mind and feel the joy as though you have already received it. Then place it in your imagined wallet. Each night before sleep, visualize it again, bless it with gratitude, and release it in trust. This is not play. It is the sowing of an invisible pattern. With repetition, you are sending a blueprint to the subconscious, which will set in motion channels of fulfillment in unexpected ways. Prayer in this art is not supplication, but declaration. When you read Psalm 23, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want, do not recite it as ritual, but as one signing a legal document affirming inheritance. Feel that it is not a promise for the future, but reality in the now. I shall not want means I am supplied. I am sustained. In this consciousness, you seal the invisible pattern with faith and deliver it to the subconscious as a definitive command. The law of multiplication does not calculate by the material quantity in your hand. 5 loaves can feed 5,000 when lifted rightly. One small idea can become a great enterprise when blessed in faith. One fragile opportunity can become a wide open door when released with gratitude. The secret is not in quantity, but in attitude. When you give thanks for what you have, you are lifting it up. When you look at a small opportunity and bless it, you open the way for the law of multiplication. Many stumble because they look at the seed and complain that it is too small. But seeds are always small. The issue is not size, but potential. When you plant a seed, bless it, water it with faith, it will grow into a tree. The subconscious works in the same way. It does not demand that you start with much. It only asks that you lift the little you have in faith, and it will multiply beyond imagination. Recall the times in your life when provision came at the right moment, when opportunities arrived when needed, when seeming lack gave way to solutions. These were not accidents. They were proof that the law of multiplication is always at work. The question is whether you apply it consciously or leave it to chance. When conscious, you turn chance into certainty, miraculous into law. Each day, choose one idea you want to multiply, lift it in your mind, bless it with gratitude, and visualize it expanding. Do not clutch it in worry, but release it with trust that the subconscious will multiply it. Then you will see, as loaves are broken, that idea multiply into tangible results. This is the power of the invisible pattern and the law of multiplication. Final affirmation. The invisible pattern in my mind is the blueprint of abundance. I lift my ideas with faith and gratitude. I release them in trust, and the law of multiplication expands them into overflowing results in my life. The net full of fish and the power of receiving. The sea equals the subconscious. Fish equals opportunities. The net equals your capacity to receive. Casting the net on the right side equals directing attention to the source of good. Draw your net of goals. Read Isaiah 45:3. Declare, my net is filled with good. Keep. In the pages of Scripture, the story of the miraculous catch of fish may seem like a lakeside chronicle, but in truth it is a spiritual formula for the power of receiving. The sea is the symbol of the subconscious, an inexhaustible treasure house. The fish are opportunities, contracts, solutions, relationships swimming within it. The net is the measure of your capacity to receive, the extent to which your mind can expand to draw in the good. When Jesus told the disciples to cast their net on the right side, he was not giving a geographical direction. He was teaching them to place their attention on the side of faith, sufficiency, and light. This law has never changed. It held true on the Sea of Galilee, and it holds true in our modern world. If you cast the net of thought into the waters of doubt, complaint, and fear, you will haul in more of the same. If you cast into the waters of certainty, gratitude, and trust in the source of good, you will draw up opportunities, solutions, and success. The subconscious is never empty. It is only a question of where you set your net. A young lawyer once complained that he had no clients. When asked where he was casting his net, he admitted that each evening he sat worrying, imagining failure, picturing an empty office. His net was full of images of lack. When he changed, he began to envision clients walking in, sitting across from him, signing contracts, leaving payment on his desk. He read Isaiah 45:3, I will give you the treasures of darkness, asterisk. And he declared within, my net is filled with good, asterisk. Within 2 weeks, his first clients arrived. He had not changed his environment, only the position of his net. This is the secret of the power of receiving. It is never that the sea has no fish. It is that people cast their nets in the wrong place. Life is not empty of opportunity. It is that we have not expanded our capacity to receive. A small net can hold only a little. A torn net can hold nothing. A net cast in the wrong place comes back empty. But when you know how to cast into the source of good, you cannot escape fullness. You can practice this right now. Take a sheet of paper and draw a large net. In each square of that net, write a specific goal, a clear dream, an opportunity you wish to capture. It might be 5 new clients, a signed contract, a needed sum of money, or a harmonious relationship. Each day, look at this net and declare, my net is filled with good, asterisk, with repetition. You expand the mind's receiving capacity, signaling to the subconscious that you are ready to accept. The subconscious is the sea, always full, never lacking. Your focus alone determines what fish you draw. If you dwell on crisis, you pull up more crisis. If you dwell on abundance, you pull up more opportunity. This story affirms a timeless truth. This is the power of the voice within not merely a sound you hear, but a space you return to when you listen to that inner voice. You are not simply hearing a word. You are returning to the place of origin where all is already present. When Jesus said to cast on the right side, it was not a situational instruction, but a symbol of spiritual posture. In Scripture, the right side is the side of power, blessing, and wisdom. It means direct your thought toward the positive, cast the net of attention into images of success and peace. Do this consistently, and soon your net will no longer be empty, but overflowing with the good you once longed for. None of us are destined to live with an empty net. It is the daily choice that decides whether the net is full or barren. You can change your life by shifting the focus of attention. You cannot control the currents of the sea, but you can choose where to cast your net. And that choice makes all the difference. Final affirmation. The sea of my subconscious is ever full. The fish of opportunity are always present. My net is wide and whole. I cast my net into the source of good, and my net is filled with blessings in every area of my life. The word of power that heals, the centurion asterisk asterisk. Cells obey commands. The technique of clinical decree. Identify the area. Declare the state as already done. Seal it with a command of faith. Record affirmations and listen as you fall asleep. In the Gospel of Matthew, there is a remarkable story. A Roman centurion came to Jesus asking for his servant to be healed. He did not ask him to come to his house. He did not demand the ritual of touch or any ceremonial prayer. He simply said, speak the word only, and my servant shall be healed. Asterisk, in that very moment. A spiritual law was made plain. The human body responds not merely to medicine or external rites, but to the command of a word spoken with certainty. Jesus marveled and said, I have not found so great faith. No, not in Israel. Asterisk. What made the story extraordinary was the centurion's understanding. As one accustomed to authority, he knew that when a command is given, the soldiers under him must act at once. No debate, no delay. He recognized that the law of spirit functions in the same way. When a word of power is spoken, every cell and every system in the body must obey. This is what we call the word of power, or the technique of the clinical decree. Its essence is simple, but mighty. First, identify clearly the area of the body or the field of life that needs to be set. In order, be specific, call it by name, spine, heart, lungs, or even a troubled mind. Second, declare the state. You desire as though it is already present. If it is the heart, say, my heart beats steadily, strong and full of life. Asterisk, if it is the spine, say, my back is straight, firm, and flexible. Asterisk, announce the result as finished, not as something that will happen, but as something already here. Third, seal that declaration with a command of faith. Say, I give the order and my body obeys. Asterisk, in that moment, you cease to be a petitioner and become a commander. And your subconscious, along with every cell of your body, will listen. Remember, every cell is a loyal soldier. They have no reasoning of their own, no argument, no resistance. They wait for orders. When you say, I am weak, asterisk, they reorganize themselves toward weakness. When you say, I am strong, asterisk, they restructure themselves toward strength. This law does not fail. You are the supreme commander of the army of billions of cells in your body. If you persist in negative words, you are issuing the wrong commands. If you speak the right affirmations, you are restoring order and life. A deeper method of practice is to record your own voice, giving these healing affirmations. Do not add music or ornament. Speak them clearly, firmly, and concisely. For example, my heart beats in perfect rhythm. Every cell of my heart vibrates in complete harmony. My immune system functions flawlessly. Let your voice carry absolute conviction. Then play this recording each night as you drift to sleep. In sleep, conscious resistance ceases. The subconscious opens fully, and the commands you have issued go directly into the central control. This is when the programming begins. A merchant in Boston suffered from arrhythmia for 3 years. It tried various treatments, but without stability. When he applied this technique, he recorded the affirmation, my heart beats in perfect rhythm. Every cell of my heart vibrates in divine order. Asterisk, he listened nightly for 3 months. The result, his doctor confirmed his heart was completely stable. This was not random miracle, but the outcome of clinical decree. A woman in Caracas with severe rheumatoid arthritis could not close her hand. Each evening she declared, my hands are flexible, strong, and free. Every joint is restored. Asterisk, she spoke with certainty. Not begging, not pleading, but issuing command. After 8 weeks, she began to regain mobility. Today, she writes and works as before. The key was not emotional intensity, but firmness of voice. You can begin this practice now. Place your hand over the area needing order. Take a deep breath and proclaim decisively, no panic, no hesitation. Say, I command my body to be healed. I affirm it is strong right now. As you do, picture a stream of light flowing through, reorganizing the cells, realigning energy. Believe that your word is law, and the subconscious will carry out the work. The human body has no capacity to resist. It only knows obedience. Therefore, let your word be medicine. Do not surrender to old habits of negative speech. Train yourself each morning to proclaim clinical decrees such as, every cell in my body responds to the order of life. My whole being vibrates in harmony. I am healed now, asterisk. When you are steadfast, you will see change radiate outward from within. Final affirmation. My word is medicine to my body. I speak with power, and every cell listens. I issue the decree of life. I seal it with faith. And even in sleep, my subconscious receives the command and fulfills it. My body is restored in perfect order and strength. The current of faith, the woman who touched the garment, asterisk, asterisk, directed spiritual contact generates a flow of healing energy. Choose a symbol, a cloth, a light. Anchor the heart with the right hand. Repeat, my faith is the current of renewal, for 21 days. In the gospel, there is a scene of immense power. A woman afflicted with an issue of blood for 12 years, having spent all on physicians without cure, pressed through the crowd. She did not seek conversation, nor did she hope for a prayer ritual. She only thought, if I may but touch the hem of his garment, I shall be whole, asterisk. She reached out, touched, and instantly the flow of blood ceased. Jesus stopped and said, power has gone out of me, asterisk. The wonder was not in the physical touch, but in the current of faith that had been released. The woman had chosen a point of spiritual contact, a symbol, and poured her whole faith into it. That act created a surge of energy flowing through her body, restoring order where disorder had reigned. The subconscious always responds to symbols charged with emotion. When you choose an object or an image as a point of contact, you are giving the subconscious a channel to transmit energy. It may be a white cloth, akros, a radiant light in the imagination, or simply your hand placed upon your heart. The essence is not the material nature of the symbol, but the meaning you invest in it when it becomes a spiritual anchor. The current flows. One practice is to place your right hand lightly upon your heart and repeat with conviction. My faith is the current of renewal as you do. Sense energy radiating from the heart, moving through the body, reaching the place of need. This is no idle fancy, but the mobilization of the subconscious through symbol. The heart is the body's strongest electromagnetic center. When a positive thought is united with the touch of the heart, it forms a powerful spiritual circuit. To deepen the practice, you may select an outer symbol, a new piece of cloth, a white ribbon, or any object you choose to endow with meaning. Each night before sleep, hold it, imagine it glowing with light, and inwardly repeat, if I touch this, I am made whole, asterisk. You do not need to see Jesus, nor perform elaborate rites. You need only believe that this symbol has become a channel. In sleep, the image sinks into the subconscious and begins the process of restoration. A woman in Santiago, long suffering from chronic ovarian disease, placed her hand upon her heart each night, declaring, my faith is the current of renewal. I touch the source of life, asterisk. After 3 months, her doctor confirmed she was completely healed. A young man in Mexico, stricken with facial paralysis, used a small wooden cross as his symbol. Each night he touched it and affirmed, the energy is restoring my body, asterisk. After 40 days, his facial muscles began to move again. This was no chance occurrence, but the law of spirit operating through the current of faith. Why is it called a current? Because faith is not merely emotion. It is energy with direction. When you concentrate your whole attention and certainty upon a point, it forms a circuit. From the heart flows the signal. From imagination, the image. From the lips, the decree. all uniting into a current of healing. Jesus said, "Daughter, your faith has made you whole." Asterisk. He did not say, "My power only," asterisk. He said, "Your faith," asterisk. For it was the woman who initiated the current, who made the connection, whose faith drew the healing force. You can make this technique a way of life for 21 consecutive days. Spend a few minutes morning and night placing your hand on your heart and declaring, "My faith is the current of renewal," asterisk, each time. Feel light radiating from your heart, rising to your brain, flowing to your feet, filling your entire being. See that light restoring each cell, aligning the nerves, dissolving blockages. In 3 weeks, the subconscious forms a new pathway so that touching the heart automatically activates the current of healing. Do not wait for instant sensation. The spiritual current works silently. Trust that each repetition charges the system, and in due season the renewal appears outwardly like charging a battery. Each session may seem small, but they accumulate until full. Then comes the day you realize the illness has departed, vitality has returned, and faith has become a constant force in your life. Final affirmation: my faith is the current of renewal. My right hand upon my heart activates the source. Every cell listens and restores its order. In 21 days, I engrave this image, and I am healed, renewed, and filled with life in this present moment. Water into wine. The alchemy of joyful emotion. Wine equals joy, purpose. Transform the water of habit into wine through joy as the catalyst of abundance. Practice the symbolic toast. Program the subconscious through feeling. At the wedding in Cana, when the wine had run out, Jesus did not say, "Let them drink water instead." Asterisk. Nor did he search for more wine to purchase. He told the servants to fill the jars with water and then draw it out for the master of the feast. And the water was made wine. This was not merely a miracle to save a banquet, but a spiritual formula for how man transforms his emotions. In biblical symbolism, wine represents joie, inspiration, the gladness of living with purpose. Water is neutral, no taste. No color, no fragrance, symbolizing routine. The dullness of duty, the repetition of mere obligation. The miracle of Cana teaches that you can turn water into wine. You can transform daily habits into experiences of delight. Turn repetitive tasks into actions charged with meaning. Through one catalyst alone, joy, many live with jars empty of wine. They continue their work, they fulfill their responsibilities, yet the spark of enthusiasm is gone. They call it maturity, they call it reality, but in truth it is the drought of the soul. A life without wine soon becomes a burden, for the spirit needs joy as much as the body needs air. Scripture declares, "In his presence is fullness of joy," asterisk, "and times the joy of the Lord is your strength," asterisk. These are not sentimental comforts, they are formulas. Where joy is, there is strength. Where joy is, there is creativity. Where joy, abundance flows. To turn water into wine does not require you to abandon your present conditions, nor to change jobs or leave relationships. It requires only the addition of joy as emotional alchemy. A woman in Madrid once complained that her office work was so dull, it drained her vitality. Instead of quitting, she began a morning ritual. Each day before leaving for work, she filled a clear glass with water, lifted it, and said, "Today I raise the wine of joy. I work in delight." Asterisk. She drank the water as though sipping fine wine. Astonishingly, within weeks her energy shifted The job did not change, but her spirit did, and soon opportunities for promotion appeared. This is the alchemy of joy, turning water into wine. Joy is not merely an emotion. It is the highest frequency of vibration the mind can carry. When you cultivate joy, the subconscious receives the message that you are living in wholeness, and it begins to shape corresponding circumstances. People think they must first succeed to rejoice, must first achieve to be happy, but the spiritual law operates in reverse. It is when you choose to rejoice now that you magnetize success. Water does not change itself into wine. It requires the presence of joy for the transformation. You can program the subconscious with a daily ritual. Prepare a clear glass, fill it with water, lift it, and declare, "This is the wine of inspiration. This is my joy." Asterisk, drink, and imagine the water turning sweet upon your tongue. In doing this, you link the feeling of joy to the act of drinking water. An act repeated daily, the subconscious will register this connection and gradually unfold conditions that cause real joy to arise. When joy becomes the catalyst, every sphere of life transforms. Dull work becomes opportunity for learning. Dry relationships become grounds for bonding. Weak health is uplifted by positive emotion. Modern research affirms what Scripture proclaimed. Joy and gratitude rewire the brain, strengthen immunity, and unlock creativity. The Bible long ago declared wine as the emblem of joy, and the miracle at Cana is proof that when you add joy, you transform the very quality of life. Practice daily. Ask yourself, are my jars of wine full, or are they empty? If you find only water, do not hesitate to call joy back. Laugh, sing, perform one small act with delight. Lift your glass of water and proclaim, "This is the wine of gladness." Asterisk repetition imprints this upon the subconscious until it becomes a habitual state of emotion. Final affirmation, the water of my life is transformed into the wine of joy. My daily routines are transmuted into delight. I lift the cup as a symbol of gladness and program my subconscious with fullness, and I live in abundance catalyzed by joy today. Walking on water, mastering fear through attention. Attention nourishes reality. Fix your gaze upon the idea, Christ, and you stand firm. Fix your gaze upon the wind, and you sink. Practice the still lake exercise. Breathe 4-4-8. Repeat the decree. I walk upon what cannot be shaken. In the gospel account, when the disciples saw their master walking upon the sea, they were afraid. But Peter, with longing in his heart, said, "If it is truly you, bid me come to you on the water." Jesus said, "Come." Asterisk, Peter stepped out, and for a few steps he walked. But when he saw the wind boisterous, fear seized him, and he began to sink. This was not merely an astonishing event, but a living demonstration that attention is the energy which sustains reality. When his eyes were fixed on the Master, he stood. When his eyes shifted to the storm, he sank. Reality did not determine him. His attention did. This is the principle. You walk upon what you look upon. If you gaze upon the idea, you stand. If you gaze upon the storm, you fall. Fear is not the enemy. It is the mirror showing where your attention rests. Whenever panic arises, ask yourself, am I looking at the wind or at the idea? Asterisk fear grows only when fed by attention. Withdraw your gaze, and it withers. The Master did not command the wind to cease before walking. He walked in the midst of it. This means you need not control outer conditions, only the direction of your inner sight. A young entrepreneur in the midst of financial crisis discovered this. Instead of staring at reports of loss, he fixed his inner vision. upon the picture of his company restored. He imagined balance sheets in the black. He repeated the decree, I walk upon what cannot be shaken, asterisk. Each morning he held that image. Gespite dire news. 3 months later, investment came not because the storm ceased, but because he had ceased to feed it with attention. You can train this through a simple exercise. Close your eyes and picture a lake, still and clear. Imagine yourself standing upon its surface, feet steady, heart at peace. Inhale through the nose for 4 counts. Hold for 4 counts. Exhale through the mouth for 8 counts. Repeat several times, letting each breath wash fear away, smoothing the ripples within. With every exhale, whisper, I walk upon what cannot be shaken. Practice daily until the subconscious records it and responds whenever storms arise. Attention is like current. It supplies energy to whatever you behold. If you behold Christ, the great idea, you power stability. If you behold the wind, the restless circumstance, you power chaos, and you yourself become the proof of what you nourish. The world around you merely reflects the gaze of your inner eye. This is the secret you must engrave. This is the power of voice. Within times, not merely a sound you hear, but a space you return to when the inner voice says, come, asterisk, it is more than a word. It is a sanctuary, a point of strength within. Each time you return there, outer storms diminish, and you continue walking on what once seemed impossible. When your focus is set aright, you do more than endure. You advance, for storms exist for one purpose, to test where you set your gaze. A farmer in Buenos Aires, diagnosed with a terminal disease, lived this truth. He refused to fix his eyes upon medical charts. Each night he envisioned himself whole, walking upon the waters, with a radiant figure before him. With every breath he repeated, I walk upon what cannot be shaken. Asterisk, a year later, he was entirely restored. He testified that what preserved him was not medicine, but ceasing to look at the wind. You cannot stop the wind from blowing, but you can choose where to look. Each day, give minutes to training your inner sight. Fix your gaze upon what you desire, not upon what you fear. Affirm that your attention is the staff that supports you, that where your eye rests, there your feet will follow, and you will see that fear ceases to be an abyss and becomes the stepping stone of your stability. Final affirmation. My attention is the energy that nourishes reality. I do not look at the wind. I look upon the idea. I walk upon the waters. I breathe in peace and I stand firm. I walk upon what cannot be shaken, the golden field, the science of spiritual sowing. The seed equals thought. The soil equals the level of receptivity. Wayside divided by rock, divided by thorns, divided by good ground. Practice. Night sowing. Keep a sprout journal. Uproot thorns with affirmations of replacement. In the parable of the sower, Scripture reveals an unchanging law of how the subconscious operates. The seed is thought. The soil is the degree of mental receptivity. The sower makes no distinction. Every seed is good, but the results differ according to where they fall. Some fall by the wayside and the birds devour them. These are fleeting ideas, gone before they take root because attention was never given. Some fall on rocky ground, spring up quickly but wither under the sun because they have no depth. These are passing desires, born of sudden inspiration but lacking persistence to endure. Some fall among thorns, grow up but are choked. These are dreams strangled by worry, comparison, and doubt. And some fall on good soil, take deep root and bear fruit 30, 60, even a hundredfold. These are thoughts received with steadfast faith, nurtured by repetition, protected from the thorns of negativity. Your subconscious is that soil. It does not judge the seed it receives and nourishes whatever you plant. What you sow, you reap. Thus, the science of spiritual sowing is not about finding the perfect seed, but about tending the soil of the mind. If you allow negative news, criticism, or doubt to take hold, you have let thorns grow. If you sow ideas without repetition, your soil becomes shallow and stony. If you let passing thoughts slip away without recording them, they fall by the wayside. Only when you deliberately prepare your soil does the seed take root and yield. One powerful ritual is night sowing. Before sleep, imagine holding a seed of light in your hand. Give it a name, signed contract, restored health, harmonious relationship. Picture yourself digging a small hole in the soil of your mind, planting the seed, whispering, "This seed is good, this soil is fertile, it will bear fruit in peace, asterisk." Then let the subconscious work through the night. Do not dig it up with anxiety to see if it has sprouted. Sow and rest in trust. Another tool is the sprout journal. Each time you notice a small sign in your life, a phone call, an unexpected opportunity, a moment of relief, write it down with a date. These are sprouts breaking through the soil. By recording them, you reinforce the truth that the process is alive, that the seed is working. Over time, you will hold in your hands a journal full of evidence, strengthening your perseverance in sowing. But you must also learn to uproot thorns. When a thought of doubt arises, do not suppress it or argue. Look at it plainly and say, "This is a thorn. It has no place in my field." Asterisk. Then replace it immediately with a positive affirmation. "My idea is taking root. I reap in due season. My subconscious is fertile soil." Asterisk. Each time you do this, you remove a thorn and plant a crop. A farmer in Lima, burdened with debt, practiced this. Each night he imagined a seed named Company Reborn. He planted it in the soil of his mind, repeating, "I sow in peace. I reap in joy." Asterisk. For 2 months, nothing seemed to change outwardly, yet he faithfully recorded every small sign. Then an unexpected partnership opened doors for him to export to 3 countries. He said, "It was not a magical seed, but my persistence in tending the soil." Asterisk. This stands as living proof that the science of spiritual sowing never fails. You can begin today. Choose a seed thought, name it, sow it at night through imagination, tend it with your sprout journal, guard it by uprooting thorns. Then let the law of growth work. The subconscious never rejects the seed you sow, provided you tend it rightly. Final affirmation. My thoughts are seeds. My subconscious is good soil. I sow in faith. I tend in gratitude. I uproot the thorns of doubt, and I reap a golden harvest of abundance. In due season, the coin in the fish's mouth, provision at the right time. The source is spirit. The channel is unexpected. The sea equals the subconscious. The fish equals the channel. The coin equals the provision. The hook equals attention. Visualize casting the line and receiving the golden coin. Trust that new channels appear. When the collectors of the temple tax came, Jesus was not troubled. He did not rush to find money, nor call for assistance, nor argue over fairness. He told Peter, "Go to the sea, cast a hook, and the first fish you draw up will have a coin in its mouth. Take it and pay for both of us. Asterisk. This was not merely a miracle to solve a problem, but a spiritual formula for timely provision. It shows that supply is not locked in familiar channels, but flows from the infinite spirit through pathways the intellect never imagines. The sea is the subconscious, vast, deep, holding every hidden possibility. The fish is the channel and opportunity. A contract, a person, a door that opens. The coin is the provision exact, timely, sufficient for the present need. The hook is attention, the focused energy directed toward the solution, not the problem. When you cast your hook into the sea of the subconscious with certainty, you will draw up the fish that carries the coin. The channel may be surprising, but the provision is always right on time. Many remain stuck by asking, but how will it come? Asterisk. Yet spiritual law does not require you to know how, only to believe the coin is prepared. Clinging to old channels blocks the subconscious, while the provision may be waiting through entirely new ways. A woman in Medellin once faced a crushing bank debt. She had no idea where to find the money, but instead of panicking, she practiced visualization. Each night she pictured herself casting a shining hook into the vast sea. Seeing a fish approach with a golden coin in its mouth, she whispered, "Provision comes right on time." 2 days later, an old client called with a consulting contract, paying the exact sum needed to clear the debt, not more, not less. She called it the coin in the fish's mouth, because this is proof that the law is not a fable, but a map of the subconscious. Every true need already contains its solution, as every seed contains its tree. When you cast the hook of attention into spirit, the channel appears. It may not follow reason's logic, but it will always be exact and on time. Let me ask you, if today you face a need, a bill to be paid, a project requiring funds, a door that must open, will you dare to believe the coin is already prepared in the sea of your subconscious? Will you cast the hook of attention into faith rather than hurl it into fear? If you sense this truth even now, your very presence here is proof you are ready to receive timely provision. Practice this. Sit still, close your eyes, and picture the sea before you. In your hand is a hook of light. Cast it into the waters, not with haste, not with anxiety, but with calm trust. See a fish approaching, opening its mouth, revealing a shining coin. Take the coin, feel its weight in your hand. That coin is the answer to your present need. Whisper, "Provision comes from the sea of spirit. I lack nothing." Repeat daily, and you are programming the subconscious. The channel may be unexpected, but the supply is sure. Do not ask when or how. Let the subconscious arrange it. Your part is to hold attention, cast the hook, and trust the fish will appear. Soon you will witness unexpected calls, sudden opportunities, invitations that seem coincidental, but they are the channels through which the coin in the fish's mouth appears. And when it comes, give thanks, for gratitude keeps the channel open. Final affirmation. The sea of my subconscious is an infinite treasure. I cast the hook of attention in faith. The fish of opportunity arises. The golden coin of provision is always present on time. I do not fear. I do not lack. I trust, and I receive fully the hidden treasure. Inner capital, buying the field equals investing in innate talent. Practice the treasure chest visualization. Pen, brush, hammer, light. Map your gifts. Choose one plot of land to cultivate this month. In the parable of the hidden treasure in the field, Scripture tells of a man who found treasure, then with joy sold all he had to buy that field. This is not a tale of buried gold, but a formula for inner capital. Each person possesses a spiritual field within which lies buried potential, talents, and resources yet untapped. That treasure is not out there, nor in the possession of another. It is buried in the soil of your own soul. The tragedy is that most walk across their field daily and never dig. They chase outward models, imitate others, or repeat tasks merely for survival, forgetting the treasure already within. The parable reminds us that treasure is hidden, not laid out on the surface. To discover it, you must dig. Digging means observing yourself, discerning natural abilities, noticing what excites you, what you do with ease, while others struggle. These are the signs of your treasure. To buy the field means to invest. The man did not simply rejoice and walk away. He sold everything to purchase the field. This principle is vital. Knowing your gift is not enough. You must commit time, energy, and trust to cultivate it. If you have a gift for writing, you must practice. If you have a gift for connecting with people, you must invest in relationships. If your hands are skillful, you must create. Only by buying the field do you gain the right to harvest the treasure. One practice is to imagine yourself standing in a wide field with a spade in hand. You dig until you strike a chest. Opening it, you see symbols. A pen may represent writing, a brush, artistic creativity, a hammer, the power to build, a shining lamp, the gift of inspiration. Each person's vision differs, for each treasure is unique. After the visualization, write down what you saw and connect it to talents you've been praised for, or activities that bring you joy. This is the beginning of recognizing your inner capital. Next, create a map of talents. On a sheet of paper, draw a field divided into plots. In each plot, write one skill, one gift, or one valuable interest. Do not dismiss anything, for often the treasure lies in what you overlook. Once finished, you will realize you are not poor as you once thought. Your capital is abundant, waiting for cultivation. Then choose one plot to cultivate this month. Do not attempt to harvest the whole field at once. Focus on one gift, una skill, one interest. Devote time to practice, to study, to share it, turning it into a practical tool. Just as a farmer cannot sow every acre in one day, you tend one section at a time, month by month, plot by plot. The treasure yields its harvest. Scripture says, a man's gift makes room for him and brings him before great men. Asterisk. This is affirmation that innate talent, when cultivated, becomes the key to opportunity, provision, and influence. You need not borrow capital from others. You need only to dig and tend the treasure already within. Final affirmation. The treasure of my soul lies in my inner field. I dig and recognize my God-given talents. I invest and cultivate. I choose one plot to tend and turn it into provision. I live in abundance, for my inner capital can never be exhausted. The withered hand, releasing paralyzed potential, restoration through obedient action. Asterisk. Stretch forth your hand. Asterisk. Practice opening, closing the hand. Decree. Asterisk. My ability is released. Asterisk. Activate neural pathways through simple shaping gestures. In the synagogue that day, there was a man with a withered hand. He still came to worship, still lived among the community, yet part of his ability to act was paralyzed. Jesus did not perform a ritual of touch nor recite long prayers. He simply said, stand forth, stretch out your hand, Asterisk. The man obeyed, and immediately his hand was restored. This is more than a story of physical healing. It is a revelation of the human condition. Many talents, gifts, and dreams lie locked, withered by time, not dead, but dormant, awaiting a command to live again. The central truth is that latent power is not released by promises or fleeting inspiration, but by an act of obedience. The command of Jesus was simple: stretch out your hand. Asterisk. That gesture activated the nerves, released energy, and restored ability. This is an eternal principle. The subconscious responds to specific images of action. When you perform a symbolic gesture, you send the subconscious a clear signal that ability is returning. You can practice the daily ritual of opening and closing your hands. Look at them, gently clench, then slowly open with full awareness. As you open, declare, my ability is released. As you close, declare, my strength is secured. Asterisk. Repeat until the movement engraves itself upon the nervous system. This is not play, it is the re-establishing of connection between mind and body. You are commanding the nerves to fire, unlocking hidden reserves of power to go further. Take clay or any pliable material, shape it into a circle, or simply mold it into an open hand. Each act of forming is a retraining of the brain, a message to the subconscious that your hands are creative instruments. Each shape is a new imprint that ability has not vanished, but is being summoned back. A painter in Seville abandoned his brushes for 10 years, convinced his gift was gone. Each morning he began by opening his hand, affirming, my ability is released, asterisk, and making a single simple stroke. Within a month, inspiration returned. Soon he was painting again, exhibiting his work in fairs. Like the man in the synagogue, he did not require an outward miracle, only the obedient act of stretching forth his hand. This is the force of the inner command. You do not wait for overflowing emotion before acting. Act first, and emotion and ability will follow. The subconscious does not demand evidence. It responds to command. When you give command with word and gesture, the whole system rallies to restore. This is the power of voice within, times not merely a sound, but a place you return to. When you say, my ability is released, asterisk, you are not reciting words, but entering that inner space where potential remains intact. Awaiting your call, each repetition knocks upon the storehouse of the subconscious, and the door opens. Remember, withered potential never dies. It only sleeps. When you bring it to the center, when you expose it to light and give it an act, it awakens as the withered hand became whole when stretched forth. So every talent, project, and aspiration long neglected can be revived by the act of obedience. Final affirmation, my abilities are never lost. They await my call. I open my hand and decree. My ability is released. I act and potential comes alive. My creative power flows freely in every gesture, in every breath. Silence before the storm. Ordering the chaos of the mind, speak directly to circumstance, asterisk. Peace, be still, asterisk, practice the 10-second pause. Anchor the sound of waves. Read Psalm 46-10 as a decree of inner sovereignty. On a stormy night, the disciples panicked as waves crashed into the boat. They woke the master, crying, we are perishing, asterisk. But Jesus did not fear, complain, or plead for clear skies. Heroes rebuked the wind, and said to the sea, "Peace, be still." Asterisk, instantly the wind ceased and the waters became calm. This was not a random miracle, but a formula for bringing order to the chaos of the mind. The wind symbolizes outer precious criticism, negative news, fear seeded by others. The sea symbolizes inner emotions, anxieties, racing thoughts, surges without control. The boat symbolizes your conscious mind, small and easily tossed. When you let wind and waves rule, you are overwhelmed. But when you use the voice within to command, order is restored at once. The principle is plain. You do not argue with others, nor negotiate with circumstances. You issue command to the situation itself. Jesus did not explain to the disciples. He spoke to the wind and the sea. Likewise, you need not reason with anxious thoughts, nor justify yourself before events. You must speak directly. Peace. Be still. Asterisk. From the center of your being, issue command, and all factors within and without adjust accordingly. When storms rise in the mind, the 10-second pause is the key. In the very moment you feel the impulse to react, stop. Count slowly from 1 to 10. In that pause, you refuse to be swept away, you seize control, then, after the count, speak firmly within, peace, be still, asterisk. That brief silence is enough to restore order. It is like pulling the emergency brake on a runaway train. You cannot halt the wind, but you can halt your blind reaction to it. Another powerful tool is the wave sound anchor. The natural rhythm of ocean waves carries a steady pulse that helps the subconscious associate with calm. When your mind is chaotic, listen to wave sounds. Let your subconscious remember that seas can grow calm, emotions can settle. If you train yourself to link the sound of waves with the command times peace, be still, asterisk, then at the sound alone, your subconscious will automatically respond with quiet. This is the use of sensory symbol to retrain the nervous system. Scripture says, "Be still and know that I am God." Asterisk. This is not mere comfort. It is a technical command. Stillness is not passivity. It is the assertion of inner sovereignty, the recognition that no force is greater than the voice from your center. When you recite this verse, do not mutter it like ritual, proclaim it as decree. Let each word echo through your being, pushing order through every cell. Until the waves recede, a mother in Quito, often quick-tempered with her children, lived in a home filled with quarrels. After learning this formula, she began to pause 10 seconds before speaking, played wave sounds, and whispered inwardly, "Peace, be still," asterisk. Within weeks, the atmosphere of the household shifted. She no longer rode the storms of emotion. She became their source of calm. By mastering the inner sea, she reordered the outer. The lesson is clear. You need not control the world, only the voice within. When you master the sound of your inner command, you become the steady captain of your ship. Winds may blow, waves may rise, but the command you speak holds power to still them, and the subconscious learns to obey, for it always submits to the voice you trust most. Final affirmation: I am the master of my inner space. I pause 10 seconds and command the storm. Peace. Be still. The sound of calm is anchored deep within my subconscious. I live in steadfast order in every circumstance. Daily resurrection, calling forth what seemed dead. Asterisk, Lazarus. Come forth, asterisk. Call by name the dormant project or forgotten calling. Practice with a white ribbon tied on the right wrist. Repeat, asterisk. I am the resurrection and the life. Asterisk, remove the ribbon at the first sign of manifestation. In the story of Lazarus, while the crowd wept at the tomb, Jesus did not join the mourning, nor accept the event as final. He stepped forward and cried with a loud voice, Lazarus, come forth. Asterisk, and the dead man rose. Still bound in grave clothes, this was not merely a historic miracle, but a model for the daily resurrection of the Spirit. For each of us has a Lazarus once buried, perhaps an abandoned project, a neglected calling, a hidden talent, or a dream once ablaze but now asleep. It is not lost. It lies sealed behind the stone of fear, doubt, or failure. The key is in calling by name. Jesus did not say, someone come forth, asterisk, nor did he speak vaguely of life returning. He said specifically, Lazarus, asterisk. In spiritual practice, you must do the same. Call by name the thing you want restored. If it is a book you left unfinished, speak to it. If it is a career once interrupted, address it directly. If it is a meaningful relationship you let go, summon it out of the grave. When you speak the name, the subconscious receives a precise command and releases the bound energy. A simple but powerful practice is to tie a white ribbon around your right wrist. Each time you see it, remind yourself, this is the sign of what is waiting to rise, asterisk daily. Place your hand upon the ribbon and affirm, I am the resurrection and the life, asterisk. Not times I will be, but times I am, asterisk. Now, this affirmation charges the subconscious as a command of renewal, and when you see a sign, in reality, a phone call, a small opportunity, a spark of inspiration, remove the ribbon and declare, it has begun, asterisk. The act of untying is the proclamation that manifestation has entered the world. A therapist in Rosario once closed her practice for lack of clients. She believed her vocation had died, but applying this principle, she called it by name, therapeutic calling, come forth. Asterisk, each morning she looked at her white ribbon and affirmed, I am the resurrection and the life. Asterisk, within months, former clients began to return, asking for her counsel. Her practice reopened not because outer chance forced it, but because inner command released energy. Daily resurrection is not only for great projects. It can be the rebirth of faith, of love, of a positive habit. Each time you feel resigned, remember, it is not dead, only sleeping. You can call it awake, but remember, call by command, not by pleading. When you say, I am the resurrection and the life, asterisk, you're not uttering words, but awakening the whole subconscious, stirring currents that had been bound. This is the power of voice, within times, not just a sound you hear, but a place you return to. When you issue the inner command, you step back into that sacred space where life is always abundant, where no death is final. Each return opens the door for what seemed lost to live again. Ask yourself, what is your Lazarus? Perhaps a youthful dream, a business idea once burning, a faith once fierce. Do not leave it in the grave because you think time has passed. Time does not kill a calling. It only tempts you to believe it is too late. But Spirit knows no too late. It waits to be called. Final affirmation, I call by name what once slept. I declare, I am the resurrection and the life. I roll away the stone of doubt and open the door for power to return. I bind and loose the ribbon as my living sign, and I witness what seemed dead rise alive within me today. As you conclude this journey, Remember that every miracle is not far away, but waiting within your own mind. Your thought is the seed. Your word is the command. Your faith is the current, and the image you hold is the pattern your subconscious multiplies. Each day can be a resurrection where you call forth what seemed dead and watch it rise again. No storm is stronger than the voice within. No tomb deep enough to imprison a true calling. This is the inheritance you carry, the power to co-create with the one who formed you. Live with that awareness, and you will walk in freedom, in joy, and in boundless abundance.